Hey guys, it's Ed again. Look at what I got almost together today. I even got the side cover on over here. Check that out. This was the 4-speed XR75 motor. Got the old book out over here and put the transmission all back together again. I ran into a little bit of a snafu with a thrust washer. Actually, I can show you right here. If you look, number 14, right there. See, 14 there. This gear and this gear slide off. That's a little C-clip to hold that all together. But these two, this is your kicker gear. That might be your, I don't know what gear that is, but that's your kicker gear. But that little thrust washer, I had one. I needed another one. So I didn't really want to part this motor. I've already pulled the head off this one. And I'm going to redo this motor, just the top end, and get the top end cleaned up and put it back together and make a runner out of. This is the 77. This was the one that came from Harvey. This one over here is the one that goes to the 74. It was in a million pieces, as you've seen in some of my old videos. And but once upon a time, I bought this motor. This was eBay deal. I think I paid 30 bucks for it with like free shipping. And I was able to tear it apart. And this is a newer motor too. This is a 5-speed motor. This could be a 77, maybe, I don't know, 78. Actually, I could figure it out. The cover has the stamp on it here. 1510. So 15 is 6 maybe? I think it's a 76. I think a 5 is a 6. But anyway, so I was able to take this gear. That's the clip right there. See, that's the C-clip you see in the picture. There's a thrust washer on top of it, and then the gear, and then the thrust washer. Here's the gear. Maybe. Yeah, that's the big one. And there's the little one. And this one has just a little washer on top of it. The drawings that I had over there doesn't show this washer. So I didn't put it in. Hopefully it doesn't need it. But I'm using the 74. So there's a little bit of difference in between these. So they're generally the same, but they're a little different. So anyway, I was able to scrounge the thrust washer off here because the thrust washer is splined. So you couldn't use just a regular washer. Plus the thickness would be important. So I was able to get the thrust washer off here and stick it in there, which allowed me to put it all back together again. I did run into another little boo-boo. My fault. In here, under the, here is the oil pump. And there's 3 screws that hold the cap on the oil pump. And, well, it's actually this, like, horn thing. I don't know if I can find a quick picture or not. Right here's the horn thing. What is this? To release the filter body. So I guess this is the filter body. And there's 3 screws. 1, 2, 3. You can almost see the third one right there. And so anyway, of course, I slid that on. All's well. I fixed up the gasket for it because the gasket was ripped and made a new gasket, and things are going right along. And if you look in this picture, which you guys probably can't see, there's a little hole right there that goes on the inside of the motor. It's got to be an oil passageway. Well, guess what old Ed did? I dropped the damn screw down inside there. And, of course, it was a not an original screw. It was something I found over here in this box of screws and stuff that came with it. And it was brass. So you couldn't even stick onto it with a magnet. I could hear it rolling around inside there. You guys could probably hear the vulgarity because there was a lot of swearing going on. And so anyway, I started tearing it apart, pulling the clutch off it, and figured I was going to have to split the cases, and I shook it one more time before I split the cases. I took the clutch off, I took the oil filter, I took the oil pump, I took all that off, and I shook it one more time, and it fell out, and it got caught right in the connecting rod where the wrist pin goes, and it laid right in there. And I was able to knock it out of there, and thankfully I did not have to split the case again to get it back together. So anyway, what I've been working on now, and this has been a real pain in the butt, I've spent way too long monkeying with this thing, is the electrical here on the flywheel. The flywheel, here, I'll show you this crank. This was a crank I was going to use, but I just kind of compared. But let me get it over here in the light. You can see the keyway here. You see how thin that keyway is? It is super, super thin. And you'd think that's probably not good. That's probably not the way it's supposed to be. Well, guess what? That's the way it's supposed to be. I bought 2 new keyways up at the hardware store today, which, believe it or not, they had them. And I don't know what I did with them. I think I threw them in a box to use later. Yeah, there's one. This is a new keyway, I think. And that is way too big. So I ended up filing it and filing it and filing it, and finally got it down to where it would go on, and it's in there. I mean, I don't think you guys can see it. Come on, Harbor Freight flashlight. You've hung in there all day. No, it's, oh, there we go. But, yeah, just washing it out. Well, actually, maybe you guys can see it. It's in there. I can see it, but it's down in there. So it's up in the keyway. It's catching something. It looks pretty good, so that's going to be all right. Well, now I go on the search for a nut, because remember, this motor was in the box, and everything was in cardboard boxes and bags. I tried to open the bags up and sort through them to see, and then I put them in boxes that kind of correlated to what I thought they went to. But out of all these motors, probably this one, but I've noticed one thing too, is this crank has the same size shaft on it as this one does, which is good. This one seemed to be in a little better shape. The bearing was a little tighter. But this one over here, this is the newer motor, scavenged for parts, has, I don't know if you guys can see that, probably not. They probably look exactly the same size, but trust me, they are not the same size. I can't compare them for you, but this one is quite a bit smaller on the older motor. So there's just another difference between this motor and the original motor for the bike. So anyway, so another trip to the hardware store. I'm going to bring the crankshaft with me and hopefully get the correct nut. And I do have a washer, because it's one of those weird washers. And I could swear up and down I had a nut, but it's not there. These are just my drill bits, because I can't find a drill bit, and I had to open them all up and dump them all over. The other thing that's cool about this, guys, is I found in the packaging, because remember, this guy that I bought this bike from was going to do something with it. Stainless cycle, XR75 engine. Anyway, I don't even know if these guys are in business anymore. But I have a kit of stainless bolts, so, which is nice, because if you guys have ever played with these bolts before, here's an example of one. That one there, somebody has taken a chisel to it and caught it and to spin it loose, which is an old classic way. These things here get galled up inside. They're steel bolts, and they get galled up in the aluminum, and good luck getting them out. Even with an impact driver. These ones are Allen heads, as you guys can see, and they're stainless and they're fancy. So I was pretty impressed with that. And they went in pretty good. I did have a mud wasp up in here. The mud wasp filled that up, so I had to clean all that crud out. Yeah, it's coming. The chain is in there. I didn't forget to put the chain in. It's just laying down inside there, and I can't quite fish it out yet. At some point it'll fish out. But, yeah. Shifted. It seems to be shifting okay. So everything seems to be turning okay. So I think we got her on the run. Hopefully the next week or so, maybe we'll put her back in the bike, and we'll have a runner. I also, for another project, while I was digging around in all my stuff, looking for something else, I come across this tire. And you guys are like, "Ooh, that's kind of yucky looking." Yeah, it'll clean up. And it's got a nice hub. It's off a mini bike, I assume. It's got a sprocket on it, which I could really care less about right now. But the distance apart looks to be about right. And it's got bearings in it for the mud bug. And the mud bug needs a new front tire. So that bearing is a little tight, but it'll probably free up. So I can pull this off and put that on the front for the mud bug. Make a good mud bug tire. Does have a little bit of tread left on it. So yeah, I sometimes lose track of all the junk I got. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for commenting and doing all that other good stuff. Well, I guess maybe we'll have the motor in this the next time we see it. Okay, bye.